So, Khamzat Chimaev is out of his fight against Robert Whittaker at UFC Saudi Arabia, and Ikram Aliskerov will be stepping up to fight Whittaker in his place. Just when you thought this whole McGregor versus Chandler situation was enough, we now have this to talk about as well. Khamzat Chimaev, injured, out. Ikram Aliskerov, in against Whittaker. He's unranked. He doesn't have a good win in his entire career. We also have this situation. The co-main event of UFC 303 allegedly is cancelled. Jamal Hill, Carlos Ulberg. We have no information on what it is that's been cancelled and who it is that has pulled out of the fight and why it's been cancelled. We are having a bunch of stuff not told to us, apparently, about UFC 303. And we now have Brian Ortega versus Diego Lopes added to that card. Maybe if they can keep the co-main event together, it'll still be good, but this is a great addition to UFC 303, and we'll talk about this matchup as well. There's also the reality of the Khamzat Chimaev situation. He's in really bad condition, apparently in hospital, so I don't know what is going on with Khamzat Chimaev, but the guy constantly has these really nasty health scares. I don't have health scares like this, and I am not living as healthy of a life as Khamzat Chimaev. Nowhere near it. So clearly something else is going on. Maybe an autoimmune disorder. Who knows? We also have this, I thought I'd just talk about at the end. McGregor versus Chandler. Chandler basically gave us some confidence here, saying that I've never pulled out of a fight, and neither has McGregor. Something interesting to mention. So maybe they're still going ahead with this because the UFC actually put up a bit of promo about this. But let's talk about Khamzat Chimaev. I'm heartbroken. I'm gutted. This is hurting me beyond belief because there's many reasons why. There's so many reasons why, man. First of all, I remember a time when Khamzat Chimaev fought 3 times in about 3 weeks, and now he's fought 4 times in 4 years. And we're going to be lucky if he keeps that ratio at this point. The guy does not fight. Honestly, I know I'm trying to do this thing about fighter pay. I know he's had injuries and this is a real serious illness, but man, these guys stop fighting as much as soon as they start making any kind of money, which is really interesting. But Khamzat Chimaev's pulled out. Again, these were the reasons given. Khamzat Chimaev has had a serious medical emergency. He's once again in the hospital. Prayers up. I don't know what this is. After each hardship, there is relief, is being said. Garam Kutsteledze is there with him. His brother, a good teammate of his. I don't know what's going on with Khamzat Chimaev, though. Is he just dying? I don't know. I actually feel worried for him. Because, what is this? Why does this guy... It's not like, Khamzat Chimaev's out with a broken hand. Khamzat Chimaev, he broke his leg in training camp. He's going to be out for a while. Khamzat Chimaev dislocated his shoulder in training camp, or pulled a muscle, or he's got a staph infection, or this or that. It's no, this guy's nearly dead again. He's been rushed to hospital. So as much as I would love to be wow, dude, what a fall off. This dude lost all of his aura. There is a part of me that thinks, it's tough. Philly Fresh here is saying no one's taken photos immediately posting on social media in the hospital if there's a real medical emergency. I'm sure he's in no condition to fight, but he'll be all right. I'm not going to quote for quote this guy. You know what I'm saying? Word for word it. But either way, Khamzat Chimaev, dude. It's tough, innit? Because this guy... After he beat Li Jingliang, there was a real narrative that by the time 2024 comes around, this guy's going to have 3 belts in the UFC. He's going to fight for the welterweight title in 2022 or wherever it was. Then he'll move up and take the middleweight belt, and then he'll move up and fight Pereira at light heavyweight. That was the conversation that we were having. And this dude ain't fought for a belt since. This dude ain't came close to sniffing a belt since. And it's either him having these medical scares where he can't make it to a fight without nearly dying. And I'm not even trying to be rude. I'm literally being honest here. This isn't staph infection. This isn't a broken arm. This is this guy's been rushed to hospital for something again, which is insane. But yeah, it's just interesting, isn't it, man? How quickly Everything has now changed. So Robert Whittaker's been left without an opponent for the Saudi Arabia card. And I guess we can talk about this now. Robert Whittaker versus Ikram Aliskerov. Dude, they are the most privileged group of fighters in the sport's history. I know people are saying no one else was willing to accept. No one else was willing to accept. No, never will you hear that more than when a Dagestani gets an unrightful deserved shot. They do not deserve the shots whatsoever. So when Ikram Aliskerov was originally scheduled to fight Paulo Costa after winning his debut against Phil Hawes, the chinniest fighter in UFC middleweight history, was there just no one else? Umar constantly getting this Sandhagen matchup. Is there really no one else for Sandhagen right now? Is that what you're trying to tell me? There was no Figueiredo that just got signed to fight Marlon Vera on the very same card. They couldn't have done Vera Umar and Sandhagen Figueiredo. Figueiredo's definitely earned it more. There was just no one else. They had to give Umar a jump up to the number one contender fight after fighting no one in the top 15. They just had to give Ikram Aliskerov the Paulo Costa matchup. They tried to do Shara Magomedov versus Marvin Vettori after he looked shit in his debut. Like, honestly, dude, never has a group of people been more privileged in the sport than Dagestanis, and it continues to show. Real contenders run the gauntlet of their division. This is like O'Malley getting Yan after beating Wineland, for fuck's sake. This is a different level of privilege. Even O'Malley didn't get this. He had to go through some tough tests first, face off some guys. I know the Munoz fight ended in no contest, but he still had to go through Munoz. They tried to make him go through that. These guys win a fight and get a top 5 opponent. And you know what? Yeah, they could be perceived to be good. They are probably better than the average prospect. But real contenders are proven when they run the gauntlet against a different style matchup 5 different times in their division, 6 different times in their division before they even get a sniff at a guy like Whittaker. So as much as I'm like, yeah, the event was saved, it's all good. I'm like, dude, Whittaker don't even deserve to be in this fight. I think he wins. Do I think Ikram's got a good chance? Yeah, Whittaker's kind of chinny. We always say that about Whittaker. Ikram's got power in his hands. He could give Whittaker a tough fight here. He really could. I don't think he wins. I think he might win 2 or 3 times out of 10. Not the majority of the time. You can't make that argument. We know nothing about this guy. He went to a split decision with Chad Hannacum, who is an absolute schmuck of a fighter. Absolute schmuck and a joke of a fighter. Literally was snorting cocaine before his Contender Series fight, and it got overturned because of it. Absolute schmuck. Took Ikram to a split decision. After that, Ikram got slept by Khamzat Chimaev badly. Then he went on the Contender Series, won. Then he beat Phil Hawes, the chinniest middleweight of all time. Wale Alves, after that, about a 37-year-old, fat welterweight who took it on a week's notice, upper weight class at middleweight, got TKO'd, and now you're getting the 3rd greatest middleweight of all time, Robert Whittaker. Let me play along with your silly little stupid fucking game where there's no one else that wants it. We had to give these guys the jump up every single time without failure. Let's play that silly little stupid fairy tale world that you're in where no one's willing to step up. We just had to go all the way to unranked Ikram. This is crazy to me. I love that the fight card's saved. I love that we're getting something. This is not the same as Whittaker versus Chimaev. Whittaker deserves a delay. Find another fight for this card. Put Ikram versus Shara Magomedov, maybe. I know Shara's got a fight on this card as well. Maybe Ikram versus like someone else on this card in the co-main event. And then just do Pavlovich Volkov as the main event. You can't find anyone for Whittaker. Is that what you're saying? That's what you're telling me. No one at middleweight until Ikram, who's beat fucking nobody and accomplished fucking nothing, is worthy of getting this Whittaker matchup, even welterweight included. I know some people are saying they turned it down, and people are coming out saying this guy turned it down, that guy turned it down. It must have been someone, but it is what it is. They saved the card. I mean, this is just these absolute hideous fucking, you know what I mean? Win a fight to get a top 5 opponent. Fighters have to go through like 9, 10 wins before they get a sniff at a guy like Whittaker. You know what I mean? Certain divisions, welterweight included, these guys are going on 7, 8, 9 fight win streaks against multiple eras of like prospects they're going up against. They're facing like a different style matchup every time. That's how you prove you're legit. These guys are winning a fucking layup in their debut, winning a second layup against Wale Alves, and now he steps in. I know it was short notice, but he had a full camp for a fight coming up soon. So it's not short notice for him. But, you know, he saved the day. The fight's happening. I just think at no point should a guy of Whittaker's caliber, who's top pound for pound, third greatest middleweight of all time, coming off a win at the top of his own division that he's been a champion in, and he's been a top contender for the past, 10 years it feels like? It feels like Whittaker's been a top contender at middleweight for about 9-8 years now. Ikram is his test. Fucking joke how much these guys get laid up their whole fucking fake legacied careers. I hate it, dude. I actually fucking hate it. Because it just has no value to me. All this is if Whittaker wins, which is a risk, because Ikram is dangerous, I know he is. If Whittaker wins, it's, oh, well done, you beat some unranked guy that isn't even that good. And if Ikram wins, he probably chins Whittaker and we know nothing really about him, and he just chins Whittaker, and it's like, okay, well, we don't know how he works against this style or that style. There's no status of him. There's nothing on the line with him. He has no value. He's accomplished fuck all in the sport other than being slept by Chimaev. It's insane. It is absolutely insane. But his name ends in a V, so Whittaker it is. I get it. They got to save the card somehow. Maybe this was the only option. I just fucking hate these matchups. Because it's a very obvious push that they try and do in every division they fucking can. So lame. Anyway, this fight, co-main event. So apparently, according to Ariel Hawani, let me show this right here. Said in addition to working on a new main for 303, which I don't think is real still. I still think McGregor Chandler's happening. I'm told the UFC is also looking at a new co-main for that card. The current co-main, Hill versus Allberg, might need a replacement now too, and if so, it could get bumped down. One new fight that has been discussed, not for the main, is Brian Ortega versus Diego Lopes, and what do you know? Brian Ortega versus Diego Lopes gets signed. So, for retrospect, I'm picking Whittaker to win this. Very dangerous fight. I say he wins it 7 out of 10 times. Chimaev's out, of course. We know that. It's tough for him. I don't know what he's going to do when he comes back. Honestly, as much as you don't really want to punish him, you might have to do him against a lower ranked guy. Just to get him back in there. Like against a Anthony Hernandez or against a Jack Hermanson. Or, I know they used to train together, but one of these types of matchups. Before we can actually trust him in a big spotlight again. I'm not saying, he should be punished because he got ill. But when it keeps happening, you can't trust the guy to hold up a main event anymore. You got to put him somewhere else. This is a main card of a pay-per-view guy from now on. Because you can't rely on an event based on Chimaev's reliability to show up. Because he just doesn't. Brian Ortega, Diego Lopes. I've got Diego Lopes winning this fight. If he wins this one, he's right into the mix as well. I think Lopes is going to beat the fuck out of him. I think Lopes is a more well-conditioned year-round athlete than Brian Ortega. And I think that'll be value here. Big value. Anytime you look at Diego Lopes, he's always in a gym. He's always helping a teammate prepare for a fight coming up. He's on tough. You know, he's looking shredded and mean and lean. He's in shape all the time, year-round. Brian Ortega, I mean, you know, just a different type of insertions. Now, I do make fun of Brian Ortega, but he is a big dude for the division, strong dude, grappler. Lopes has got great counter grappling, amazing counter grappling. On full camp, we don't even know the level it can be. We've only seen it on short notice, and it's still been really good counter grappling. Finishing potential in his hands. Everything he throws is dangerous. I feel like he can put away Brian Ortega here early. Brian Ortega looked good against Yair, but Yair is a frail little boy and gassed out immediately at altitude, going for a finish in round one against Brian Ortega because Yair has some of the weakest ground and pound in the history of the sport. I think Lopes can get Brian Ortega. And if this is a free rounder, I think it benefits him as well. Ortega does grow into a fight. You don't ever want to really be stuck in a 4th or 5th round with him if you can avoid it. So 3-rounder, massive matchup, and I'm probably going to lean towards Diego Lopes putting this dude away. The momentum that this guy has is insane right now. So I think he's going to carry it forward and beat Brian Ortega. We'll see. I think he's going to be more prepared for this. But I bet you they both got paid, so I'm proud of both of them. So Diego Lopes is what I'm leaning towards. Brian Ortega, Diego Lopes, though, sick matchup. Could be some good ground exchanges between the two of them. We've never really seen someone with that level of jiu-jitsu really go at it with Ortega on the ground. So maybe this ends up there somehow. Who knows? We move on. So that's that. So that's being added to 303 because they've maybe lost a co-main event, but they don't know yet. Weirdness going around. This is Chimaev in hospital. And then this is the thing from Chandler as well. After Ariel's been tweeting about a lot of stuff like, you know, golly, you guys, it's not looking very positive vibes. He's been saying a bunch of vague stuff that makes no sense. Like, he said this will bring the 303 saga to an end on one of his tweets. And I'm like, dude, does that mean the fucking fight's on and the saga of this fight being off is over? Or is the saga of the fight being on off and now it's over? Like, he's being so vague about some of his tweets. He's literally engagement baiting. And but he probably does have some sources, so we'll see. But Michael Chandler seems to think, MMA factor today, amount of times these fighters have pulled out of fights, 0-0. So clearly, they've got an idea that this fight is still going down. And I hope that it is, because June was such a strong week or month of cards. With McGregor Chandler, with Chimaev Whittaker, Taylor versus, Perez wasn't the strongest, I get that, but there's other good fights. We got Mavov Cannonier was ruined by a bad stoppage. It was a bit of a shit card as well. It's tough out here for MMA fans, man. I'm tired and I'm angry about this. Really angry. It really annoys me. And this shit annoys me as well, man. You cannot count their legacy as the same as other fighters when they get laid up for title elimination bouts after beating fucking schmucks. And before anyone tells me, dude, there was no one else. Don't act like they didn't try and pull this move fucking 6 months ago. They tried to pull this move. They had Ikram just beat Phil Hawes. Shara just beat Bruno Silva. And what did they do? Oh, it looks like Shara versus Vettori and Ikram Aliskerov versus, who was it? Paulo Costa. There's just no other matchups to make, are there, UFC? You just had to give them a top 5 or a top 7 after winning their debut, for fuck's sake. We've never seen this level of privilege before. McGregor had to go on a bit of a streak. He fought Brimage in his debut. Brimage was I think he was 3-1 in his 4-1 in his last 5 or some shit. He had a bit of a streak together when McGregor came in and beat him in his debut. In the UFC, I'm talking about. He's 4-1 in the UFC in his last however many. So I hate it, dude. So we'll see what happens. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Toodle pip. Hopefully this all sticks together and we get some good fights out of it. And hopefully Whittaker don't get flukily chinned and his whole legacy's in tatters. And this guy gets a free ride to the top. See you later. Goodbye.